Dear Lord, the battles we go through life.
Dear Lord, the battles we go through life.
We ask for a chance is fair.
We ask for a chance is fair.
Chance to equal our stripes.
Chance to equal our stripes.
Chance to do it there.
Chance to do it there.
We should win.
We should win.
Let it be by the code.
Let it be by the code.
Faith and honor held high.
Faith and honor held high.
We should lose.
We should lose.
Stand by the road.
Stand by the road.
Cheers, the winners go by.
Cheers, the winners go by.
Day by day.
Day by day.
We get better and better.
We get better and better.
Till we can't beat beat.
We can't beat beat.
Won't beat beat.
Won't beat beat.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Husker Football Archive. My name is Mike. I'm here with my buddy Doug. We're going to talk about, as everyone knows, that Scott Frost was retained a couple weeks ago, and they let go about 4 coaches to be replaced, and they recently they hired Mickey Joseph, which I thought was a great hire. He's a former Husker quarterback from 87 to 90, I believe it was, or 88 to 91.
He knows Louisiana.
He does, and he can recruit his butt off. Now people are saying, "Well, that's Louisiana. Nebraska's not Louisiana State." It's like, that's true. We're not, but it used to be that Louisiana State wasn't Nebraska about 20, 25 years ago. So things can change. Things are cyclical. So we're going to get into why Scott Frost should have been retained like he has been. And then we're also going to talk about why he should have been fired. And maybe we'll add our personal opinions on what we thought would go on. And here we go. Why he was retained. And we'll look at everywhere that they improved this season. And we're going to look at the scoring offense. Now, Mike Riley's last year is on the side there. They averaged 25.8 points a game in Mike Riley's last year. And in 2018, they had Stanley Morgan and J.D. Spillman, so that helped quite a bit, and Divine Zigbo. So, but they started off at 30, went down to 28, 23, and then in 2021 back up to 27.92. So they're getting back to there. Yeah, I would like that over 35, or even 40 if possible, but 35.
Yeah.
But they got a little better. I mean, what did you think of the offense in the games that you saw this year?
The ones I saw?
Mm-hmm.
Actually watched?
Yeah.
Not much.
Did you? You didn't think too much of them?
No.
Well, I mean,
the receivers are great. Martinez, to me, after 4 years, yeah, he has great stats, and he's a great person. But he just never found a way to win, which is a lot of great quarterbacks do, even very good quarterbacks. So that was probably and he had kind of a turnover bug a little bit.
Yeah, his problem probably was more, when looking at the numbers, was fumbling, because his statistics throwing the ball was pretty good with interceptions and stuff like that. But
what's
overall,
the game he had 4 picks?
Yeah. That was an anomaly, but it was not a good game against Purdue. Even with that, they lost by 5. But we'll get into that in the next episode.
Oh,
but
sorry.
So the scoring offense did improve over last year, almost 5 points. So last year was a crap year because of COVID and no fans in the stands, and so let's get on to the next category where they got better at. The average yards per pass attempt. Now look at Mike Riley, 7.5 in his last year, and he had that Tanner Lee guy who got drafted but didn't make. I think he made the team, and then they later on cut him. But 2018, Martinez started off around 7.3 and 7.9 last year. They dumped off to the backs and short passes a lot, but this year, 9.4.
Better.
That's a great number. I mean, and that's where you want it to be if you can. But greater quarterbacks that have won at Nebraska were not at that level. So
but they had better lines.
They had better lines. They had a
better defense,
better kicker, better running backs,
better special games.
Right. It's not all on Martinez. And
no.
no. to me, he
made his money.
he was good 90 to 95% of the time, and the 5% of the game where we needed him to be good, he failed. But so let's go on to the next category where they improved. Total offense per game.
Well, that's getting better. That's a good sign.
Yeah, 385 for Mike Riley's last year. Now they were pretty good in offense that year,
For sure.
2018, when it's Frost's first year, and because they had great receivers, and Ezigbo
He was tough.
really came on
Yeah.
midway
big
through
time.
that season. Nebraska lost a lot of one-score games, but
They do that a lot.
right. But and then they dipped in 2019, 2020, but they got back up to 447.6. And the amazing thing about that number, why it's so good, you had Ohio State, you had Michigan,
Iowa.
you had Iowa. It's pretty good off.
So we're obviously getting yards on good defense.
Right, and they put up a lot of yards on Wisconsin. And Wisconsin, say what you want about Scott Frost, Wisconsin has had trouble with their offenses. Unfortunately, Nebraska hasn't beat Wisconsin. I think they played them better under Frost than they did Riley. But 447.6 against the caliber of defenses they played was pretty amazing, and I think that their offense was top 25 in the nation. Their defense was top 50, so 3-9 doesn't compute, does it? I mean,
They're the best 3-9 team in the country.
yeah, and with that you can get swampland in Nebraska, so or oceanfront property in Nebraska. All right, we're going to go on to the next category. Okay.
Even though he said
Average
get
yards
back to
per
me.
play. Now look at this. Riley, that's not good number. 5.6. Then it went to 6.3.
Well, then wouldn't you get a first down every time? 5.6.
5.6, 6.5. Well, sometimes you get 9 and sometimes you get
I'm just
1 and then but anyways, 6.5 is a good almost a yard better than last season. 0.7 of a yard better than 2019 and better than 2018. So I will tell you, though, the biggest significant improvements that Nebraska has made has come from the defensive side of the ball,
Yeah.
and we'll get to that in a moment.
What happened to their special teams?
Well, Pickering transferred. He made his last 10 kicks of 2018, I think. But now we're going to go to touchdowns per game. Mike Riley, 3.25. And we started at 3.75 with Frost. Dipped all the way to 2.63
ugly.
last year. But now we're back up to 2018 levels. I would like to have that in the 4 to 5 range. 4.25 to 5 maybe. But still, we could have won with that
8
if
field
we
goals.
had, 1 or 2 plays a game that catastrophic plays that didn't happen. But that's where the improvements have gone, and we'll see where we started with Mike Riley there. So Mike Riley was a good person,
by the
nice
way-
guy, but
Where is he now? What is he?
I don't know. He's probably going to coach in the USFL or if the XFL comes back, maybe.
I heard he
don't
was
know.
in the next Expendables movie. But,
I would watch that, actually. Yards penalized per game. Mike Riley's was 60.7 yards a
Jeez.
game. Now, Frost, when he was at Central Florida, they were penalized quite a bit, but that year that they went
does that
13
mean no
and 0.
discipline?
Well,
You play like,
yeah, but
but okay. You're getting
look
there.
where they
Sorry.
got 70.8, which was worse than Riley's, but now 43.2, 60.6, 45.
20 was brutal, wasn't
You
it?
definitely want to
I'm glad I've been
be
out
in
of
the
it the last
40,
two.
40 range like they are, 40 to 45 range. So that's
Right.
acceptable. I didn't think they had. I mean, there was a couple games that like they get three in a row false starts, from a different lineman. Is like, are you kidding me? But overall, they were not penalized all that much this year.
Surprising.
It is.
Yeah. I didn't watch many.
I'm a glass half full person. I look for the bright, the
I'm half
shiny
empty.
bright lights and third down conversions, which is a very important number. Back in %97, now I'm doing this off the top of my head, he was led by Scott Frost. They were in the 50 to 55% third down conversion rating. So, but 38%, that's unacceptable.
2020. How brutal was that
Yeah,
season?
they offensively, they were not that good last
I
year.
didn't see any game.
41.25. My personal taste, you want to be over 50 if you can, but I think you want to be at least 45 to 50. And for much of the year, they were over 45, but, against Iowa and some good defensive teams, it did get lowered a little bit. But 41.25, that's an improvement of 37%. And now it's against all those tough defenses. So, that's something, you say that's pretty good. And we could live with that if we could just fix the small
moral
errors.
statistics.
What's that?
I love moral statistics.
Well, no, but you'll see though in our next episode that there's one or
I'm a
two
huge
plays a
fan.
game is
I'm
like,
just being realistic.
what if those things didn't happen? Maybe we could have pulled out. We didn't. We are what our record says we are. As Bill
Exactly.
Parcells said back in the day. So,
1,000%. You're as good as your record.
all right, let's move on to the next category.
He coached the Jets, by the way, the greatest NFL team. I had to throw that in. Sorry.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Red zone touchdown percentage. So, just in case our listeners don't know this, when you get inside your opponent's red zone and you score a touchdown, as opposed to when you don't, this is the percentage of your success rate.
Within what yard line did you mention?
Within the 20.
Okay,
Within
I
the
don't think you
20.
mentioned
Now,
that
Mike
one.
Riley's last year, 51.1%. To this date, Scott Frost has not been below that. Not to say that that's a big deal, but when you go from 61.4, 52.9, 51.4, it was getting worse, but 15%, almost a 15% approval over improvement.
Well, he's got his players now.
over last year. That's significant. Does not make sense why we lost 9 games this year. It does not make sense. But we did.
We did.
Now we'll get to the next one.
It's tragic
It is tragic.
because, we've been around forever, so we've been nothing through.
Fumbles lost.
Yes.
Now, Mike Riley's was pretty respectable, 12 fumbles, and 2 of them were lost in 2017. Didn't matter. That was a horrible football team. And there I could
How
show.
often did they run it though? Didn't they pass more usually?
They passed more, but they had Ozigbo and I can't even think of him right now.
Mike
But
Riley's team,
look where Frost started at 28 fumbles and 11 lost. Now it's down to 7.
27,
Now it's down to
22.
17-7. So to me, there's coaching going on there. You got players holding on to the ball more,
That
and
guy
we're
got
playing
fired?
some really good defensive teams.
That guy got fired though, didn't he?
Iowa makes their living out of turning people over. Now, they did make Nebraska turn it over once through interception and once through a fumble, but 17-7 on the year.
Didn't Held get fired?
Talking to the mic.
Oh, didn't Held get fired?
Ryan Held got fired, and so did the receivers coach.
What happened to the special? Oh, you said there is no special team coach.
Well, I think technically Dawson runs the special teams, one of the linebackers coach, but I didn't look to me like there was a special teams coach this year because that's the worst one we've ever, in my 50 years of watching this team, I've never seen a special team so awful and
Terrible.
inconsistent. And from kicking extra points, field goals, punting. Now, the punting did improve a little bit after that Michigan State debacle where he punted to the wrong side of the field where there's no coverage going down there.
Think of all the great kickers and punters we've had, like Erstad.
Oh, NFL guys. Erstad. Well, Erstad was a major league ball player and a great one at that. But they had Chris Brown, Josh Brown.
Josh
Drew Brown's in Canada. I think Sandro DeAngelis had a Canada career. Brett Maher played in the NFL for a little bit. Alex Henry, that was one I was surprised that he didn't have a great NFL career. But
that's right.
his rookie year was pretty good, but he didn't. But still, you made the NFL, and you got Sam Cook is one of the best NFL kickers there is.
Yeah.
And Kyle Larson.
Who's the one that played at Cincinnati all those years?
Kyle Larson.
Oh, Larson.
And then I think Bill LaFleur played for the 49ers early on.
Yeah, we've always had great kickers and punters.
But let's get on to the next category. And Mike Riley's Last season, 36.4. That's why he's a former coach. And that was a Bob Diaco-led defense, and I would say that to me, that was the worst defense Nebraska has ever had. The last one was the 2007 with Bill Callahan and Cosgrove. Cos is excellent in every area.
Where are those
He's a
two
great
at?
football coach.
Where are those two at now?
I think
Cosgrove and Diaco.
I think Callahan's in the NFL
Sounds
as an
like
offensive line
Cagney,
coach. But as you can see, Frost coming in, this is one area where the people that have been screaming about Shenander getting fired in the last couple of years, but he's kind of silenced those critics. 31.2, 27.8 points a game, 29.4, and then this year's 22.7. Back in the day, Doug, you remember the dominant teams of the 90s, even the 80s and the 70s.
Charlie Kiffin.
Monty Kiffin.
Or Monty. Who's the other one then?
Well, they had Charlie McBride.
Charlie. So I said
That's Charlie Kiffin. Was
See, I combined them.
If
See,
Charlie McBride and Monty Kiffin got married.
And they're the two best.
And Monty Kiffin was the man in the relationship.
Exactly.
That's okay.
Charlie Kiffin.
But anyways, back then, routinely, a championship type defense would be in the 10 to 15, 10 to 17 point range of giving up points.
Right.
It's a different age nowadays. So if you can keep it under 25, you're pretty good. I'd still like to go under 20. That'd be great. Obviously you want to give up.
So basically you want your team to score at least 30 points a game.
And the next category that we've improved in, the rushing yards allowed per game. Now, the rush defense under Bob Diaco was atrocious, 214.8 yards a game in Riley's last season. And Shenander has improved on that every single season.
It started bad, but yeah, it's looking good.
146.9 is.
What do you want around 100?
It's not great, but it's almost 50 yards better than 2018. So it's steady improvement. If you can get it under 100, that'd be great. The 97 team, I thought they were around 72 yards, 74 yards a game. But that's, again, a different era.
Yeah.
And we'll get on to the next category. Yards per rush attempt allowed. Again, Mike Riley, Bob Diaco, 5.6. That's not acceptable. Not even in Pee Wee League, okay? That's not acceptable. Unacceptable. And again, Shenander improved every single year down to 4.2. That's a 25% improvement over Mike Riley's.
Where do you usually want that stat?
I would like it below 4.
3.9?
I would like it. Got kind of skewed because it was under 4, but when Wisconsin happened and their freshman sensation running back had 2 super long runs and went over 200 yards, that's what happened to that average. So overall, with all the tough offenses they played, especially Ohio State and Oklahoma and Iowa has the, I don't even understand how Iowa is 10-2. That's just the worst 10-2 team I've ever seen in my life. But they beat us. But I hope they get creamed by Michigan.
Emails and comments to Mike. This is Doug. I'm the good one.
I could get behind Iowa, but they actually, and I
hope they beat Michigan because I don't like
a good friend of mine used to go there, and they do sacrifice puppies before each game. So no, I'm just kidding. That does not happen. I don't want to get sued. I was just a joke. All right.
Did I ever tell you the comedian joke? I saw it the Funny Bone once. He goes, "What does Iowa stand for? Idiots out walking around."
Yeah, something like that. Idiots out.
I don't believe that because I got a brother that lives in Iowa and a nephew and a sister-in-law.
Let's get on to the next one, Doug. Okay. Average yards allowed passing per game. Now, 221.4 under Riley wasn't terrible, but the only reason it was 221.4 is because they didn't have to pass the ball because they were so easy to run against them.
Yeah, 5 yards to play.
In 2018, the first installment of Shenander's defense, 237.8, and he got it down all 40 yards in his second year. But then, you had Lamar Jackson
back up.
and DiCaprio Boodle. 219.1's pretty good, I think. You don't want it. I think passing statistics are overrated, to be honest with you. Running the ball is what wins at every single level, and you have to be able to stop the run. Usually when somebody has 400 yards passing, that means they're losing. I mean, Vince Ferragamo for the Rams back in 81 had 509 yards passing, but they lost. So,
yeah.
But 219.1 is not bad, and they're down from the first year, but that didn't go down every year like the other particular categories that we talked about. But
right.
In the next category, average yards allowed per pass attempt, and 7.3 under Diaco, 6.7. So he stayed pretty much in the same area. 6.5 is his personal best.
Yeah.
And I think their pass defense was pretty good this year. They need to generate more of a pass rush.
That would help.
They need somebody like Randy Gregory that doesn't get high.
Peter Brothers, Winstrom,
Okay,
Dominic
it's Wistrom, like you're taking a whiz.
I'm sure he'll send me hate mail.
Hey, I have a Wistrom jersey over there for the Rams, but
Winstrom, sorry.
6.5 per attempt, that's pretty good. Maybe get it down to 6 or so, low 6s. But again, this was good enough to be in ball games where they were bad is the catastrophic errors that happened during the regular year. So as you can see, a lot of this is improvements in many, many areas. So there's something to show.
They did look better this year. I'll
Right.
give you that. Even though I didn't watch any games, but from what I saw and
Now, yards allowed per play. As you can see, Shenander has steadily gone down. 5.3 is pretty good. I mean, if you get it below 5, that's an excellent defense. And Mike Riley's last year in the 6s, so they were that terrible. You don't want 6 yards of play. That's kind of an explosive offense, really. Actually, the opposite on defense, though.
God, they must have got a first down every 2 plays.
Okay.
All right, I'm just
We're
seeing
going
if people
to
are
get
paying
to the
attention.
next category of improvement for the 2021 Nebraska Cornhuskers. Total offense allowed per game, 436.2 for Riley and Diaco. Even in Shenander's worst year, it wasn't that bad.
3 yards.
Yep. And he's steadily gone down to 366 now.
You want that in the 200s.
He was a top 50 defense. Well, back in the day, you wanted it between under 300 was a really good defensive day.
And you have a great offense, so that's what you hope for. Yeah.
Right. One of their better teams, the 83 Huskers, they gave up over 300 a game back then. Yeah. But they were scoring in 2 and 3 plays, so it kind of works to
scoring explosion. Is that what you're referring to?
Right, but still, we could have been 7, 8, 9 wins this year, giving up 366 yards a game. You want to get it down as low as possible, but 366 against this caliber competition, to me, was a very good season defensively. Call me crazy, I don't care.
Crazy.
All right. Come on.
Here it comes.
And touchdowns allowed per game. Obviously, you want to make them kick field goals.
Right.
Oh, Mike Riley. Geez, 4.83.
Ooh.
And then, again, Shenander has gone down steadily. And this, from when he started, how it started to how it's going, 2.58. The defense was good enough to win games this year. Unfortunately, a comedy of errors happened.
Special teams?
Special teams.
Is that what you're referring to?
Okay, there's sacks that they gave up in inopportune times, penalties at inopportune times, interceptions, fumbles, missed field goals, mixed point after touchdowns. The simple things in life. But 2.58 is excellent.
Right.
That's 15 points a game, basically, in touchdowns.
Let's see. Touchdown 6 points, so that's 12. And
but that's
half
100%
of
improvement over Mike Riley,
correct.
though. 100%, almost 100% improvement over Riley.
Ooh, those all look high.
Third down conversion allowed. Yeah, I'm not particularly happy with 39-2 because in their 97 national championship year, even 99, they were below 30, I believe. I think they were in the 24% range in the 1997 season. I should have brought that up so we could look at it. But,
We will one day.
to be competitive, you're going to have to be in the low 30s at least.
30.
But again, 39.2 would have been good enough to win those games, but we did not. But steady improvement by Shenander's defense over the past 4 years. And
that's the only improvement I've seen.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
The defensive, yeah. I mean, I think the receivers played pretty good this year.
Yeah, I'll give you that too.
I mean, is that your opinion of the offensive side? The most improvement shown was the receivers?
And Martinez was the biggest disappointment to me.
Well,
and I know he had great stats. He's a great person. I get all that.
His statistics were an improvement. The wins were not.
And that's by year 4, you think he'd make maybe a better decision because I've heard.
But it's not all on him. You can't put it on.
No, when you're running for your life every other play, no.
You got to have time to throw. You got to have a running game that's consistent to keep the people off of you. And
you got to have a line. That's the biggest. Remember when we used to have the pipeline? Yeah,
we need to put some offensive linemen in the pros. I think didn't Hymas get drafted? And
what about your Hyman?
And I think they're talking about the center. The center.
Oh, he's leaving, ain't he?
He's probably going to leave. So,
don't they all leave?
Pelini put some offensive linemen in the NFL. So,
how many Oklahoma players are going to jump the portal to USC?
I don't know. That's just a mess.
What happens if like 8 guys jumped the portal and went to USC from Oklahoma?
Well, they lost 2 5-star recruits already that switched from Oklahoma to USC. And USC,
are you serious?
USC has.
God,
we're getting off track here, but
go.
USC has. You can get 5 stars in your backyard. So it says something to the fact of how successful Tom Osborne was and Bob Devaney.
Oh
and even Frank Solich won just a hair under 80% of his games. And I will put Pelini in there. Who wouldn't kill to be 9-3 right now?
Oh, every year. Plus, by the way, I was 1.5 stars in my backyard. Didn't get
even
any
your
scouts.
mom didn't think you were really
got
good.
No scouts. My mom's like, eh.
Anyways, third point. We're done with third down conversions allowed. Get that down to the low 30s. Even under 30 would be awesome. And the next category, red zone defense touchdowns percentage allowed.
That's within the 20-yard line.
Look at this ridiculous number by Mike Riley's
Oh,
defense.
my God.
Almost 3 out of 4 times they scored a touchdown when they got inside the red zone.
Oh, my
and
God.
compared to this year, 50%. That's pretty good improvement.
Well, where do you really want it? Where are the best
The last
teams?
2 years has been pretty good.
Well, where's the best teams? What's their percentage?
Well, we could do another show on that, but
I'm just curious.
I half the time you're making them kick field goals, I say that's pretty good. This was not a good number. I think
Those
closer
are
to
two
the
good numbers.
50% is, and we could look at. I could do another show on that and see where
We're
Alabama.
going to do shows, man, because we're going to be fire after this first episode. I'm telling you.
Okay.
Am I too excited?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, it's good to have excitement in your life, though.
I got
Points per play. Now, this statistic measure how explosive your offense is. This is our offense. So if you say like you score 20 points and you run 100 plays, your points per play is 0.200, which is not explosive, okay? So when you have So that's what they're averaging points per play, 0.415 in his first year.
So if you get like a 20-yard run, is that so many points? If you get
No, it's based on how many points you score based on how many plays you run.
Oh.
So
I get what you're saying.
Frost
So if
started
you
off
score 69 points on 10 plays, you've got 6.9.
That would be 6.900. That doesn't happen.
Well, I'm just so people at home like me that are terrible at math, that's what it means.
Right.
Okay.
But Frost was at 415. Now, if I look back to see where he was at Central Florida's last year, I would think he was probably over 500 because they were explosive with Mackenzie Milton and Killens and Otis Anderson and the receivers they had.
I thought he played for St. Louis.
Otis Anderson? Who?
Was he a running back?
Otis Anderson from Central Florida was picked up by the Rams. He got cut, and recently there was a tragedy.
But didn't his dad play in the pros?
No, that's not Otis Anderson that played for University of Miami and the Giants and the Cardinals.
There was an Otis Anderson.
Yeah.
Cardinals, yeah.
He was. It was spelled OTT on him, though.
Oh.
But
okay.
no, this Otis Anderson to play for Central Florida recently was killed by his dad in an argument because he was
the
living.
Marvin Gaye thing? Marvin Gaye got killed by his dad. What did he do?
I don't know what happened. It was a domestic problem, and unfortunately, he's no longer with us. But he was a good athlete there. But we'll get back to the Huskers because we see a squirrel go by. We're going to talk about the squirrel. So, but that's our points per play.
Porn?
I would hope that we can get closer to .500 because that'd be very explosive. But over 403, 415, and maybe in another episode we can compare that with teams that are actually winning games. But 327 that's a good batting average in baseball, but not.
Yeah.
And then I think 388. Rod Carew hit 388.
Yeah, but didn't Ty Cobb hit 403?
Yeah, he did. Nobody liked Ty Cobb though. But 403 wasn't terribly bad. But that's where we've improved 0.76 over the previous year and improved over 2019. So we're getting back up to this level when we had some really top-notch receivers.
But that's still a low level according to you because you won it at 5.
No, I would like to, 475, something like that. But don't want it where Mike Riley was at. They weren't. I mean, Tanner Lee, that was a whole mess there. But points per play allowed on defense. Now, look where Mike Riley's defense allowed 529. That's how bad they were. And this is a good number. That's .329 from 419. That's almost a full 100 points there.
Right.
And this isn't bad, but that's a significant. You're making making their offense work for their points. So,
which they did.
They did. That's a sign of a good defensive team. I would say they were good.
But how demoralizing is it for your defense when your special team screws up, like punting the ball to the wrong side of the field?
Yeah, Nebraska had that game won. They allowed like 7 yards in the second half to Michigan State.
It's a moral season.
Okay, whoops. Point differential versus ranked teams. Ooh. This is the average point
Riley
differential.
Got smoked.
28 points a game. He got killed.
Look at 2020.
Right. 2020, but they didn't play that very many. They played like one ranked team, so that's a little skewed. 22.7 is not
Only
good.
One ranked
20.0
team that whole year? Are you sure?
I'd have to.
Yeah,
I can bring it up.
Come on, stat man.
I can bring that up, but
we'll talk about that another day. Write that one down too.
But this one shows that they're competitive. 6 points a game.
Look at that drop. That's probably the biggest change we saw on here so far.
Now, people will say, "Well, yeah, you're still losing the game." But even Osborne said, Osborne says it's more than winning. It's sometimes not if you're losing, but how you're losing. To me, there's no hope. I lost all hope for Riley turning around when you get clocked 28 points a game by ranked teams. You're not even the same ballpark.
No, that's okay. Like us in the Big 8.
And to be honest with you, the first 3 numbers there were not very good for the Scott Frost coach teams in Shenander, not at all.
No.
But 2021 with the level of competition, that one of the toughest schedules in NCAA, and your average losing by 6 points. Obviously, you did not win any one of those games, but 6 points a game, you're within striking distance. It shows that you're closing the gap. Yeah, they're going to lose JoJo Doman, and they're gonna lose Cam Taylor-Britt. But they have talent. Frost's recruiting has been in the top 25 every year. This year, it's the last time I checked was 77th
in recruiting.
Yeah, but they usually do a lot of signing late.
It's looking bleak.
So we're getting Mickey Joseph in.
Oh, that'll swing it around.
He's put some players in the pros, I'll tell you what.
I think it's a great hire. I'll take Mickey Joseph.
My
day of the
my
week.
last memory of Mickey Joseph was when he went into against Oklahoma, and Nebraska was a favorite in that game down in Norman, and he got early in the game he got tackled out of bounds, and then he went into like a bench and had a laceration on his leg or something, and I don't think he played again at Nebraska. But before that, against Colorado, 1990, Colorado won the national championship on some lucky ways. Nebraska led 12-0 after 3 in Lincoln, and Mickey Joseph ran for a touchdown that would have made it 19-0. But they said he stepped out of bounds. The replay said no, he was in bounds, but we didn't have replay to overturn calls. Yeah, we lost the game 27-12 because Bieniemy went off in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, you're
but
bringing up bad memories.
I could argue that maybe that 27-point run never would have happened if it would have been deflating for Colorado to think we're down 19-0. You don't know, but that was a key point in that game.
I'm going to cut Colorado slack because they got legal marijuana.
Okay, and then Colorado had the the play that they had the 5 downs against Missouri that year.
Yeah,
it was like,
oh my God,
your,
was that
your,
the
your
most
national
ridiculous
title's
thing?
tainted. And then you throw piss at games at people. Come on, you guys are terrible.
I would never go to a game at Boulder. I heard nothing but
No,
horror
if I did, I'd be
stories.
just dressed in neutral clothing because
Got my Buffs hat on, a Buff sweater.
There's a thing that knowing how to win to be a good fan, and
We got the greatest ones in the world. So
now we're going to get into why Scott Frost should have been fired. Now these are some pretty ugly numbers.
I'm going to
tell you right now.
disagree. I'll give him his original contract. Wasn't it 6 years?
For $5 million, and he took $1 million pay cut.
Give him 6
and
and
lowered his
then cut him.
buyout. But this is why people, who say he should be fired are possibly correct. This is the one-score game record. Pelini was 17-14 in one-score games. Riley 7-9. Frost is 5-20.
Ooh, that's brutal.
Not that 17-14 is great, but
No.
hey, you were winning 9 or 10 every year. So, but
Big difference.
it is. And I hear some people trying to say Mike Riley was better than Pelini. Not in the same universe.
Please.
There's no comparison.
That's stupid.
And category number 2, why Scott Frost should have been fired. For those who are out there like that, record versus ranked teams.
Ooh, brutal.
Pelini, that's still not great, but I'll take that over that any day. 2-6 Riley and 0-14 Frost.
And you want to know why I have apathy? Look at this. If you add it up, it's 11 and 37 against ranked. You're no longer competitive. It's just sad, You want to be in close game. Nebraska fans don't care if you lose as long as you look competitive. You're into it.
You don't want to
play
look horrible.
well. Yeah, I'll take a 1-point loss as long as you look good. But half the time anymore in these 3 years right here, well, Pelini's last year basically, and then these guys' years, Frost and Riley's, it's every game's just another nightmare. Fumble here, interception there, block punt there, missed field goal here. It's just, I don't know. Sorry. I got it. I've gotten apathy the last 2 years. I'll be the first person to admit it.
Record versus ranked teams, that's where it stood. And Frost has obviously got to change that around if he's going to make it.
You know what? That's really sad. You'd think out of 14 chances he would have stole 1 or 2, but in his first 4
he
years,
came close this year.
We're talking 4 years though.
If he would have been 3-3 in those games,
this hurts too when you
the
lose.
ranked games he played 3-3. Record versus your conference.
This sucks.
Pelini's numbers includes the Big 12 conference because he was there from 2008 to 2010. So 3 seasons.
And you're saying that conference is weaker than the Big Ten, right? Well, that's what you're
I think it's.
saying earlier.
I think it's
that's
weaker
why
now.
Texas and Oklahoma are jumping.
I think it was weaker. It's weaker now. Nebraska now is not as good as Nebraska was when they were in the Big 12. But when you lose Nebraska, Missouri, Texas A&M, Colorado, that did hurt them. But I'm one of the people who think that Big 12 is going to get better losing Oklahoma and Texas. So Texas, to me, with all their top
They got
recruiting
beat by
classes, they're not
Kansas.
that good. And burnt orange is the worst color in the history of mankind. So, but Pelini, look at this record versus your conference: 39-17, Riley 12-14, under 500, which was bad. But then Frost is 10-25.
And you got losses to Illinois. Who else?
Illinois. He's
Indiana,
lost to Northwestern,
Purdue, Northwestern.
Purdue.
Teams that
He's lost to
Nebraska
Indiana.
used to beat.
Right. But technically, Purdue's a pretty good. He's getting to be a pretty good program. Northwestern, they win their division one year, then go 2-10 the next year. I don't understand
That guy's going nowhere.
Did you know that guy Pat
his name?
Fitzgerald
Yeah,
was an
he's going
All-American
nowhere.
linebacker in Northwestern?
Yeah.
I was watching one of the Bob Hope All-American AP All-American team when they come out in their jersey and they say they were from. Yeah, Pat Fitzgerald was in the '95, along with Tommy Frazier. But
Yeah, we got to bring in Nebraska players any way we can. Yep, Tommy Frazier.
all right, now we're gonna get down to some nitty-gritty.
Uh-oh.
Not that we already haven't been.
He'll probably be fired after this, Mike, with this information. you're
Well,
posting.
I'm hoping these. We'll talk about where we think Frost might have gone wrong.
Ooh, that's
Home
at
conference, right? You got to take care of home field. Pelini 20-8. Now I wouldn't even
That's
put
not
that in the
great
same
either.
ballpark as Solich or Osborne or Devaney, but I'll take 20-8 over 6-7 and 6-11. We've
Any
lost.
day of the week.
We've gone 12-18 in the last 7 years at home.
Wow.
Even if we flip that 18-12, that's not very good. I would 11-6 would be closer to 20-8 than 6-11 is obviously. But
Well, if you're going to be a top 10 team, you're probably not going to lose.
no,
at
you're going to
home.
need to win 75% of your games at home. And that's 71.4% I think for Pelini.
Or Trev Alberts. Oh, we forgot another great defensive player, Trev Alberts.
Record versus your division. Pelini 27-8. He won the games he was supposed to win. He didn't really.
He lost to Iowa how many times in that?
He lost to Iowa State one year.
Iowa State.
No, but he was 3-1 against Iowa.
How many did he lose to Wisconsin?
All of them except for one.
And how about Ohio State, Michigan?
All of them except for one. I think he might have beat Michigan twice. So,
Okay.
and he beat Michigan State. But yeah, Frost needs to take. They need to start taking care of the divisional foes. If you want to win your division. And Riley didn't take care of it either because he against Iowa 0-3, Wisconsin 0-3, Northwestern. But 27-8 versus your division. That's
Who had the Hail Mary? Oh, Pelini had that Hail Mary that beat him, Virginia Tech. Remember that?
yeah.
And then
that was
there
Matt
was another
O'Hanlon,
Hail
yeah.
Mary on Riley's first game. Wasn't that BYU?
BYU. That's and that was.
The Hail Marys
That
against
wasn't
you.
okay.
Those
Yeah,
suck.
that quarterback played for BYU. Did he plays for New Orleans now?
Oh, the big guy?
He's like their utility white slash player.
You mean the muscle? He looks
No,
like a
number
linebacker.
Right, but I can't think of his name right now. But he got hurt in that game, and then their backup came in and threw that Hail Mary against Riley in his first game, and that set the tone for his career at Nebraska. So,
That sucked.
but they had several one score losses that season. So, and then the next year they won 9. But remember when they were ranked in the top 5 or something, and it's like this was the ugliest top 5 team I've ever seen because they were just like not. I didn't feel like we were undefeated. Then we got beat up by I don't know. I think it was Michigan State or something like that. But and then we got killed.
We used to do good against them.
We got killed against Ohio State. I think that game Tommy Armstrong went out with an injury. But let's get to the next category.
It's just rough for us long timers to see this because we've been spoiled. I'm not a fair weather
We're
fan.
never
I'm
going to
just
get back to
spoiled.
the
I want-
90s. You know that, right?
Oh, yeah. If Frost doesn't do it in the next 2 years, it's over. Unless you get a Saban in here, which will never happen.
They're going to have to give these new coaches and coming in here a 2 or 3 year
Well, as I
contract.
said, 2
they'll
years.
come.
That's 6 years.
And some people say, well, if Frost is 5-7, they're going to get fired.
No.
I don't know. Depends on
they-
how they're losing, or if he goes 1-11, maybe. But
1-11,
they need.
yeah.
They got to adjust to these coaches. The schedules is definitely not as hard as it was this year.
We'll have to
I
go
thought
over that.
if we got to 6-6 this year, it would have been a really good year because the schedule was brutal. and I am going to do another episode based on, I think, the scheduling by the Big Ten.
They were against us in the beginning.
It is unfair.
Oh, they were against us in the beginning.
But
I don't know about now. It seems like, I don't know.
Road conference record. Pelini, 19-9.
He won.
More? You want that. I'm not going to argue with that record at all. 19-9 on the road in your conference.
College Saturdays, yeah.
You won a division in 3 seasons in, 11, 12, 13, 14. A division in 4 seasons. And then Riley, 6-7, not good enough. And definitely Frost's record of 4-14 in the road conference. I mean, gosh, at least to go 500 or something,
Yeah, like Riley.
I would like that to be at least. I want it to be there because that's where you're going to win championships. I know Pelini didn't win it, but he did win 3 divisional titles, and that's more than. And he did that in 7 seasons as coach, and this is
How
7
many years
seasons.
was Riley there? 3.
3. So this is 7 seasons. So they're 10-21, and Pelini was 19-9.
And then you wonder why I got apathy.
I think I had apathy with Riley because I just didn't believe in him.
It's huge disappointment with Frost. You got to be honest. I mean, by now, 4 years you would think, but I'm going to give him 6.
But it hurts because he's one of ours.
Well, yeah, if
and
he
we
wasn't
thought
one
that
of
he was
ours,
turn
he'd be
this
gone
around.
by now. Yeah.
So let's get to the next.
But you really don't want to get on that coaching caravel.
Well, he
Merry-go-round,
may
I
be
guess,
stuck
or
as an
whatever you wanna
assistant
call it.
if this doesn't work. And the scoring marches versus ranked teams. And
That's Riley's there? 6.0? What's that
no.
in yellow?
Pelini's was 6.1.
Oh.
Riley his average defeats was 19.5. Frost in his career at Nebraska is -15. That's not good, but he's 6 points a game in the last 6. So he's
within
really
a
lowered it
touchdown.
down, and the teams are more competitive. But 6.6.
That's obviously
that's
the
Pelini's
defense.
number,
Right.
and you remember some of the blowouts, and that's what his average.
Yeah. Plenty
because
won
he
them
actually did
games,
beat
too.
some of those ranked teams. So
Right.
All right. Now, this is the 2003 season. We're going to look at the past coaches and why they were fired. This is Frank Solich's last year. He did not coach the Michigan State game. Pelini was the interim coach but the losses, he had a 17-point loss at Missouri, 24-point loss at Texas, and that was close at halftime, I believe, and he got clocked at home by Kansas State 38-9. L. Roberson went off on him and Darren Sproles. And overall, though, I don't, the defense, look at that, 14, 24,
Steve
38.
Peterson
They gave
killed Nebraska football.
He did. They gave up 38
Just say
points
it.
in the first 5 games, and then 41 against Missouri, Texas A&M. They only played 2 ranked teams at the time that they played them, Oklahoma State and Texas, and that's I think Vince Young was part of that team. Jamal Lord was the quarterback, and he's the most underrated running quarterback we've ever had because he had the year before he had 1,400 yards rushing as a quarterback. So
We have the best names at Nebraska. Jamal Lord.
but that's what that's what got Frank Solich fired. Is I don't 9-3 and they were 7-7 the previous year. To me, you should stuck around. And we've been fighting. Fighting it ever since.
Weren't we the joke in the media about, we're firing our 9-win coach?
Well, I remember an article
What kind of
that they
team
had
does that?
interviewed Urban Meyer, who at the time was at Utah, and I think they played in the Sugar Bowl or something against Alabama. I may be remembering that wrong, but they asked him about Nebraska, and he says, "I'd never go to a program that would fire a 9-3 coach."
Exactly.
And there was rumors that they were going to get Houston Nutt from Arkansas.
He's still on the runway in Lincoln, I heard.
And then, our third choice, Bill Callahan, came through for us.
Yeah, because, you want to put a West Coast offense in the Midwest during the winter and fall.
That's why it's like
where
Mike
you've
Riley.
been for generations, and it's your tradition to just run people over with the ball.
Doug, what did Tom Osborne say
What do
about
I
throwing
know?
the ball? Do you remember what his quote was?
Don't throw it in the wind.
No, that's don't pee in the wind.
Oh, okay.
But no, he said there's 3 things that could happen when you throw the ball, and 2 of them are bad.
Okay, so 1 would be interception, 2 would be incomplete, and 3 complete?
Complete, yeah.
Oh.
So Tom
But it's
Osborne was a
true.
very smart man.
It's
He's
true.
a very smart man. All right, we're going to go to the 2007 season, and this is what got Bill Callahan fired.
Oh, this is gonna. You know what? Is this one game? Hold on, one moment. Okay, I believe it's the October 13th game. Was that in Oklahoma State or was that Nebraska?
That was at home against Oklahoma State.
That was the worst first half in the history of me watching a Nebraska game. Homecoming, I heard they were down 37-0 at half. That was the absolute
fans were
worst
leaving,
half. Besides that Michigan half, those two halves were to me some of the worst Nebraska football I've ever seen.
Well, the ones highlighted in yellow were I would consider a blowout loss. When I did my numbers early on, I kept it to over 20. But USC got beat at home 49-31. I don't think that game was that close.
It wasn't.
41-6 Missouri on the road. I think that's when they had
Really?
Brad Smith, or maybe it was Chase Daniels, or one of the two. Brad Smith went on to play for the Jets for a while as a receiver.
The greatest team in the NFL.
No, not even close. But Texas A&M 22-point loss at home. They put Joe, and then I think Joe Gans came in against Texas. Now, when they brought Joe Gans in, because that Sam Keller, the guy who killed NCAA EA Sports foot, along with I forget the other basketball player.
He should have stayed at Arizona State.
He actually has some pretty nice numbers, but he wasn't the big problem in that team. But he got hurt, and Joe Gans came in and started, and they almost pulled that off. Jamal Charles ended up going off late in that game, and they got beat 28-25. But Kansas.
That's the game. After I read all these, I remember them all, but that Kansas game, maybe I just blacked out and I didn't want to see it. I don't know.
Yeah, and
I forgot it was that bad.
Now, late in the season, I remember reading a story or something that somebody saw Pelini in a bar in New Orleans or something, because he was with LSU as the defensive coordinator, and they won the national championship that year, right? And they said that they told Pelini Nebraska got beat 76-39 to Kansas, and Pelini's jaw just dropped, and that was before he was hired, obviously, because Callahan. Tom Osborne, who came in after, thankfully, Steve Peterson was fired, with I think it was 4 games to go, and if Callahan would have won, maybe 3 of the 4, and then got to 6-6, that maybe he would have been saved, but Kansas, then Joe Gans passes for 510 yards against Kansas State. And then they give up another 65. Look at these point totals they've given up, Doug. 65, 76, 36, 45, 41, 40, 49. That's just awful.
And the thing about Colorado is I bet the under on that game, and it was 110. And I lost.
No kidding.
But, again, I cut Colorado slack.
It was a friendly bet. You didn't do it with the
edibles,
bookies, though, right? Because that's illegal.
Vapes.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Okay,
Marijuana.
We're going to get into the final season of Bo Pelini 2014.
I like Bo.
Now, I didn't highlight these ones, but obviously at Wisconsin, the 22nd ranked, and Nebraska was up 17-3 in that game. And that's, at the time, Melvin Gordon set a record for over 400 yards rushing. And that's, but you look at the other losses in this season, Doug. At Michigan State, 27-22. Michigan State, number 10 in the nation at that time. They went it down to Northwestern and beat them handily, 38-17.
Did they beat Iowa that year?
They beat Iowa 37-34 in overtime.
Take that, Iowa. Bam.
And DeMornay Pearsonell.
Oh, yeah. He was
Pearsonell,
great.
yeah, I think he's he's related to Superman in some way because Kal-El. Yeah. But
I'm related to Spider-Man. Well, Deadpool.
All right. But, yeah, then he lost at home to Minnesota 28-24. Overall,
Minnesota,
but then
on.
Barney Carton took over the Holiday Bowl coaching, lost 45-42 against number 24 USC. So they were very competitive that year. And, I mean, they had trouble with McNeese State at home, but that's why I said, no, we're going to fire him. We're going to end up with the same thing like we got with Callahan, and then we hire another West Coast offense coach, and we got Mike Riley. And here's Mike Riley's final season
God,
at
do we
Nebraska.
wanna look at this? Let's check it out.
Okay, they started off 3-2. They got beat at home by Northern Illinois, and that's where everyone's
And Oregon
light went off, and
got beat by Oregon.
yeah, and they were getting beat pretty bad, and came back in that game a little bit.
Was Oregon ranked?
No, Oregon was not ranked. I think that guy who's a San Diego quarterback was their quarterback then, but Nebraska played him fairly tough up there, but. And we beat Illinois like we're supposed to, and then we got blown out at home against Wisconsin, 38-17. Got blown out at home against Ohio State, 56-14. Beat Purdue by 1. Lost to Northwestern at home by a touchdown. Got clobbered by Minnesota by 33.
Hey.
Penn State, now it was a 12-point loss, but Nebraska scored like 20 points in the fourth quarter, so it was not that close a game. Look at these 50 points they've given up. 56, 56, 54, 56,
Iowa
42,
spanked us.
38 Wisconsin. 50. This is you say this is that's why
fireable. This is fireable.
Yeah, this is fireable. And this is Scott Frost now. I did not have the Wisconsin. Everybody knows what happened in those games, and yeah, we have a lot of L's up there, but 8 to Illinois, touchdown to Oklahoma, 3 to Michigan State, 3 to Michigan, 7 to Minnesota, 5 to Purdue.
9.
Now this was closer than 9 as far as I'm concerned, but and then they got beat by Wisconsin and Iowa by a touchdown. Does this season look like Mike Riley's and Bill Callahan's to you?
No.
Even though he has less wins.
No.
Does it look like those two seasons?
But let's hope this year's defense isn't, one of those sophomore jinxes or whatever they call them.
Okay, we're going to wrap up episode number 1. Thanks for watching. We'll be back
number 1
for episode 2.
We'll be back one day.
We're going to do the 2021 in review and watch a little bit of highlights and see.
Yeah, we'll see games for the first time for me.
All right.
That'll be exciting.
I'm Mike. That's Doug. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.